Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Rapid Review. Happy Labor Day weekend to everybody over in the US, and happy September to everybody else. Always nice to have a long weekend, but looking forward to another week in the market. So let's get ready for next week. All right. Just so everybody knows, chat's open. Feel free to share any of your questions, comments, concerns, agree, disagree with me, whatever it is. And later on, we'll go through some stocks. So at any time, feel free to drop a stock ticker in there and we'll go over it together. As always, here's a disclaimer. Informational purposes. It's not financial advice, all for educational purposes. All right, so getting started. Current state of the market, we're in an uptrend and we're in a power trend. Still intact, everything's still looking good. Looking at distribution days, we have 7 distribution days on the S&P, 5 distribution days on the NASDAQ. If you are comparing to IBD, I will highlight this. I am showing the August 11th distribution day as a distribution day. IBD is not. On that day, I checked multiple volume sources to confirm because the volume was very tight on that day and it was about split 50-50. So me personally, I erred to the more cautious side and counted the day. That's up to you. I counted it. IBD didn't. I'll leave that up to you. So that's why I kind of left that one highlighted. But other than that, there was no change in distribution on the S&P. We basically stayed completely flat, and that's basically all we had in the S&P. But on the NASDAQ, on Monday, we dropped the 721 stalling day. That day fell off. It did not affect the count, however, because due to the rule about stolen days versus regular distribution days, and that you can't have more, you have to have more distribution days than stalling days, we then activated what was the 731 stalling day, and that led us to 5. So that's where we're sitting at right now and why the count is the way that it is. Looking into next week, though, the S&P is going to lose 2 distribution days, the 729, the 731 distribution days due to time, 25 trading days. And then on the NASDAQ, we're going to lose 1, the 731 distribution day due to time. Other than that, we would need a pretty significant move. Really, it would only be the 8-5 day that we could possibly lose if we have a pretty big week in the market. Not expecting us to have that happen, but needless to say, if we do have a big move, those days would drop off. So that kind of leaves us where we're at. Moderately high distribution, I would say. Nothing ultimately too concerning given what's going on with the price levels. And we'll look at that when we look at the charts, but this is where we are at as of right now. Yo, what's going on, Shake? Yeah, we're definitely, we should bring up the video and take a look at that, see what's going on. And what's going on, Carl? And you said September, considering generally a bad month for the market. This is over on YouTube. Is this year looking that way as well? Well, time will tell. We'll talk about that when we look at the charts and see what things are looking like. But I try not to pay too much attention to historically, oh, this month's bad, that month's bad. You know, anything can happen. To me, it's more about of what's going on with the price levels. But right now, looking at the current state of the market this week, we were down on all indexes, just down slightly, nothing too concerning there. And then in terms of the year, S&P up 9.84%. Slowly catching up to the NASDAQ little by little. NASDAQ up 11.11% and Dow up 7.05%. Moving averages. So we're green on all moving average. All the moving averages are also sitting as they should if we're in an uptrend. 10, 21, 50, 200. So good seeing that there. We're really, really tight to that 10-day. Really tight on the S&P and the NASDAQ, and still also tight on the Dow. But above all, which is a positive sign. So good to see that there. So let's jump over and let's take a look at what's going on with the indexes. As we always do, we'll start off on the NASDAQ on the daily. So really now 2 Fridays ago, we had this strong day over here. Finished really strong. We had this big pullback. We came down, broke the 21, and then we finished out the week strong, which is really, really positive sign. And I think a lot of us were hoping that this was just going to kind of keep just ripping higher, but you know, we don't always get what we want. So what we ended up having was kind of just this stalling day on Monday, nothing too concerning there. And then we just edged higher Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then reversed on Friday, found support at that 10 and the 21-day EMA. And we also saw that 10 to 21 day EMA really starting to converge in this tight area right here. So what I'm looking at here is, like I said, ideally we would love to just rip and make new highs. And given that we were going into the holiday week, not surprised to see that there was just kind of lackluster action overall in the indexes. We also had NVIDIA reporting, which was a big concern for a lot of people, kind of sitting to see how they reported, how the market was going to react to that. We had some Fed stuff going on Friday as well. So there was a lot of stuff going on this week, along with just the August month and the holiday weekend. So seeing this kind of lackluster week wasn't really too much of a concern for me. What was really positive, though, was seeing that support at the 10 and the 21. And anytime we're kind of really finding support there in the overall uptrend, we're in a positive situation. So really liked seeing that. And especially, like I said, now that they've kind of converged, seeing the support at both those levels right at that spot was pretty cool. Good stuff. Now, looking at the weekly, jump over there. This is the first time in this uptrend that we've actually had 2 down weeks in a row. You can see all the way from here when we rallied. This is the first time 2 down weeks in a row. So not that it really means anything, but I just thought that was kind of interesting to share. But really what we want to talk about is key price levels. What are those key levels that we're looking at? On the upside, it's fairly simple. We're looking at all-time highs. I mean, you could say we're looking at the high from Thursday in terms of the short term, but overall, it's really making an all-time high, breaking above this August 13th day over here. So it's been a while since we've been up at that level, a couple of weeks, breaking above that. On the downside, 2 areas. We just said before, the 10 and the 21. We found support already. Continue to find support there. That's positive. Further down, though, and I think this is really more important for the longer term uptrend, is not only the 50-day SMA, but also the 820 low. And you can see those 2 levels are really interacting right at the same area. So I thought that was pretty interesting. You have the 10 and the 21 really tight together, and then you have that prior low and the 50 also really tight together, giving us 2 really tight spots to look at. This being a little bit more on the short-term side, and this being a little bit more on the long-term side. Look how we interact there. If we find support at any of these levels, that's positive. If we break through those levels and stay below those levels, that's going to be a negative. Really with the 10 and the 21, if we break for a day or 2 and don't go too deep and then kind of rebound, I don't think that's too concerning. So just keep that in mind too, that if we do break these levels, that's not like the end all be all, get out of the market, trust your stocks, follow what they're doing, but just keep an eye on those levels. We'll jump over the S&P quick, take a look at what that did. Like we said, this was definitely stronger than the other. We actually made 2 all-time highs this week, closing highs on Wednesday and Thursday. The 10 to 21 a little more separated as we trended higher, and again found support at that 10-day. Key levels here, continue to make those all-time highs, really watching those moving averages again, and then that prior low doesn't really coincide exactly the same, pretty close with the 50, but pretty much the same action we're seeing here. Just a little bit more strength lately in the S&P. As everybody's talked about, there's been a lot more rotation going on lately. Liz, what's going on? Too early to assume we're reaching a top and going sideways. 100%. I am not in the market of predicting. I'm in the market of seeing what the market's telling me, where I can assess what's going on, where I can draw my risk lines, and just trading from that point. And as far as right now, the market's in an uptrend. I'll talk about that a little bit more later, a little more in depth, but I'm not going to sit here and try to call a top. I'm just going to trade the trend and ride the trend as it continues on. Anybody saying this is the top, this is going to be the next big rally, we're going to go have a crazy September, nobody knows. Anything can happen, so just keep that in mind. All right, let's jump over now and take a look at Deepvue. Look at what's going on in terms of the themes. This week, which is this section right here, we had the miners do pretty well. Gold, silver, and Bitcoin miners all doing well. What was interesting, though, was Bitcoin was not doing well. So the miners did well, but Bitcoin did not do well. What's going on, Chad? Definitely we'll look at AT for you, absolutely. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The miners did well, but Bitcoin itself actually got hit pretty bad, as a lot of people do know. Growth showed some strength, which is definitely a positive sign. A lot of people were talking about the Russell, the small caps were doing a little bit better this last week, and seeing that happen was a positive sign. But we definitely saw a lot more of those, less growth stock plays when you talk about oil and gas, telecom, banks, airlines, casinos. I really wouldn't put that, but steel, Seeing those industry groups do a little bit better definitely shows what we're seeing, some kind of rotation going on there. But it doesn't mean that these growth stocks are getting annihilated. There's definitely a lot of setups setting themselves up in those areas as well. The big groups that I do want to highlight, though, and we've been seeing that kind of consistent trends in those areas, is solar. You can see that over on the 1 month trend over here. Solar coming in at number 5 and continue to see strength there, which is positive. Casinos, what we just talked about, they're continuing to slowly climb up in terms of the 1 month rank. Here it's home construction, but I think construction in general has been showing some good strength. Airlines, though I'm not allowed to trade because of my job, but airlines have been showing a lot of strength, and banks have been showing a lot of strength. So you're probably seeing a lot of these types of stocks fall on your screeners. A lot of these stocks looking like they're setting up fairly well. And yeah, what I'm doing right now is I'm just trying to see, is some type of group really showing week after week? It's starting to show some strength. Like casinos has been showing strength for a while, and we've kind of talked about that every single week. Solar, same thing. And seeing those things being ahead of it could help us know where we can maybe keep our focus on our next buys, because we do want to tie ourselves into the best performing industry groups to put the probability of getting successful buys in our favor. All right, so let's talk about exposure levels. I said it kind of before, the trend is up, right? We're above these moving averages. We haven't created a lower low. The trend is up. Everything else that's going on, all the news, all the other stuff, I'm not worried about it. There are some concerns, obviously, just overall, like we have seen things kind of slow down. We've seen a little bit more resistance at those all-time highs, so we could go sideways, but overall, and we could go lower as well. But overall, the trend is up. And like I said, we're finding support at a lot of those key levels. S&P is making all-time highs. The NASDAQ overall is acting fine in terms of the trend. And the big thing that I've noticed, a lot more stocks popping up with good setups or viable setups for how I trade. To me, that definitely helps me feel more comfortable about what's going on in the market. When I feel like instead of just seeing a few setups and I actually have to sit down and grade my setups to determine what stocks I'm going to be jumping into, that makes me feel more positive about the market. That makes me feel like we have a better chance of moving on. When I don't see a lot of setups, that makes me a little more concerning. So definitely taking that into consideration. Distribution is slightly high. We've been talking about that every single week, but as we've seen, to me, that's a little bit more of a secondary indicator versus what's going on with the price action. The market sometimes will show some distribution and then completely rip from where it is and eliminate all that distribution. So taking note of it, but not making me act any different. Given everything that I'm saying, I think this is the market you can easily be fully invested. I would say until the market breaks down, I think you can easily say that almost every single week, that being fairly fully invested is something that something you could be comfortable with. Me personally, in one of my accounts, I did go slightly on margin, about 20% on margin in that one account. But I do have very, very tight stops. I've calculated my risk. I know exactly if I was to get stopped out of everything, what my drawdown would be to my account, and I am very, very comfortable with that. Fact of the matter is, like I said, the trend is up. These stocks are setting up. They're giving me some really, really tight areas to put my stops. So I am comfortable putting a little bit more risk into the market because I know that my downside is pretty tight to where it is right there. So that's kind of where I stand in terms of my personal exposure. But the key really is you got to be prepared in both directions. And that's where having that risk management is so, so, so important. You can't make money if you don't have risk in the market, but you don't want to have unnecessary risk. So make sure you know where all your stops are. Make sure you have a plan and what you're going to buy if things do go up higher, where you're going to sell, and taking this all into account so you can prepare for that next week and not just be going in and just haphazardly trading. That's how you're going to get hit. That's how you're going to see drawdowns in your account when you don't have a plan. But this is how we should be looking at the market every single week. This is no different than any other week. Planning, managing your risk, and knowing how you're going to approach the market with emotions all set aside. Jumping over to the chat, Bitcoin well correlated to the stock market, and Oxy been consolidating. We'll look at that as well when we jump over to stocks. All right, so let's do that right now. Let's jump back over to Deepvue. And if you don't know, I am a Deepvue partner, so if you do like this application, I do have a link and a discount code. So you can check this out. Right now, they're not accepting new subscribers, but get on that wait list. So when they do, excuse me, you can get a part of it. All right, so let's first look at a tour lifestyle. This has definitely popped up on a lot of my lists, and we'll start off as I like to do normally on the weekly. First glance, this looks like it's pretty extended. Just seeing it from here, pretty high out of this area over here. Big volume week, which is definitely positive. From a fundamental side, earnings look pretty good, sales look pretty good. We're seeing increase in institutional sponsorship. The last 12 months, it's in that top 20, which is positive. You could always look over here for some quick ratings, and in that 12-month, up in that top percentile, which is very, very good. ROE is excellent. So, but looking over on the daily, just to get in the nitty gritty, look, if you own this, great. Like, this is acting very, very healthy. So if you were to say have bought maybe right over here on maybe this break right here on the 26th, great for you. For now, this is extended. I would not be putting a new position on here or even adding on to this right now. I'd just be riding the trend. But thanks for bringing that up, Chad. What else? Who else do we have in here? Oxy. This one I have not looked at personally. Petroleum. All right. Let's do what I normally do. We'll start on the weekly. All right. So a lot of overhead resistance over here. For me personally, just looking at the earnings, I don't like the negative quarter. I don't like we're not seeing a ton of growth on the EPS. I guess it's oil company, even on the annual, not seeing things here. So from a fundamental standpoint, I don't really like this name. You can, again, quickly look at these ratings, EPS, sales, fundamental, composite, all these ratings super, super low. And that's just a quick way to understand what's going on in terms of the fundamentals. From a trend change, it might look like we're making a trend change. You can see the Weinstein, we're signaling a 2A, which could be the possibility of an early new uptrend. And then we'll jump over on the daily. So if you like that style of trading, and you maybe look at this kind of like a big, almost like a Darvas box type area, we are breaking above that level. All these moving averages are super, super tight over here, which is kind of positive. So I could see somebody wanting to possibly put a trade on here. But me personally, this is just not my style of trading. But I see what you're looking at and kind of understand it. All right. Carl said IIRC. If I could type. Or is it LLRC? IIRC. You might have to tell me what stock you're talking about, Carl. Sorry about that. Other stocks that I did want to bring up. Actually, Shake had one over there. Let's look at NVIDIA. Big name. We said earnings coming out this week. The fundamental side, everything's positive. We all kind of know that. I'm sure everybody's looked at this. Not going to really beat a dead horse with that. Trend is up. This thing has trended up nicely. It's pulled back into that 10-week moving average. So let's look at the daily, just get a better idea. From here, first glance, me personally, I want to wait. I want to give this a little bit more time. Seems like it's kind of rolling over. It looks like it wants to pull into that 50-day SMA, and we'll see how it interacts there. We had a ton of volume come in with the earnings report come out, and the stock just kind of turn over. Do I think this trend is over? I'm not going to say that because especially we're still above that 50. But like I said, it seems like it wants to pull into that 50-day SMA. I'm going to sit back, wait, keep an eye on this, and see if it gives a viable setup. And if it is one of the better names that are out there, then maybe I'll take a position. But for me right now, I'm just kind of sitting patiently and just keeping an eye on this, as I do with most of these kind of big cap names that are bigger weights in the market. All right, Liz, what else we got? GEV. This has been a favorite in this big uptrend, right? Broke out early in the uptrend, was one of the leaders, has gone on a great run. Let's actually just for fun see from the bottom to here. About 100, almost 170% run, and consolidating, which is what happens. All right. So on a daily, and the fundamentals are all good on this, so I'm not going to even get on that. We are starting to see, let's see, if you wanted to draw some sort of a trend line, right? We're kind of continually hitting that trend line, pulling back, finding support at those moving averages. I could see, especially with that volume drying up, if somebody wanted to get in this as it broke that kind of trend line for more traditional base breakout traders, likely would want to see that kind of right side of the base start to form and maybe even form a handle or tighten up as it gets towards those all-time highs. So this one here, yeah, nothing that, again, I'm going to really enter right now unless we kind of break the down trending line, but I could see that being a possible entry there. If you're a pullback trader, maybe, again, I don't do that, but maybe you're finding support here, putting an entry, and if it breaks below, you're jumping out. No, that's not the stock symbol if I remember correctly. Okay, sorry about that. Standard behavior for NVIDIA normally gets hit on earnings, then comes back. This is very true, Carl. I can definitely agree with you on that. Bull, Weeble. Jump over there. All right. So IPO stock. Going to act a little bit differently. Let's get this refreshed right here. There we go. All right. Oh. All right. So looking at this one, breaking below the 50. I don't like when a stock's breaking below the 50, especially on high volume. This is one that I would, just for that pure fact, I would be staying away from. There's a ton of overhead resistance in this area. So this is just not a stock that I like to trade, not my kind of setup. Yeah, that's kind of all I'm going to say on that. A couple of other names I want to bring up. Comfort Systems. You read it, right? Talks about the kind of, it's like a lot of cooling, electrical, sorts of stuff like that, temperature. But this is kind of going into that AI play. And this has made a big move up. And it's been trading in this tight range. Oops, misclick. Yeah, trading in this 10% sideways action range for a while, right? Kind of giving this flag, which is super, super positive. Seeing the volume kind of taper down. And this is one that has been on my watch list. It did look like it wanted to break out right over here. And then Friday just kind of reversed, came back, found support at the 10. And this is one that I've just been kind of watching. If we can break out to all-time highs, I think that's fine. This is almost like a real mini like cup with maybe a possible handle here. But yeah, if we could break out to all-time highs over here, this is a name that the fundamentals look great. Just the story of itself, the stock, this is kind of a big player in that AI space. So I've been keeping an eye on that one to kind of bring that one up. Fix is an IBD 50 stock. That's always good. Yeah. Anytime you see some of these, for you guys who are IBD subscribers or people who look at those lists, yeah. If you find one of these names finding on there, that's definitely something that's a positive sign for sure. Reddit. This, full disclosure, I do own a position in. I was very, very aggressive in this. Reason being, and I'll be honest, I might have been a little bit emotional because I owned it here, got stopped out here. It then would have gave me the cushion I needed to go into earnings and then went on without me. So I've been kind of chasing this one. I'll be completely honest. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But we've gone on this great run. The volume jumped in right around earnings, went on absolute tear. It broke out to all-time highs and then now has taken a breath and started to digest those gains. It's pulled back. It's finding support right at that 21-day EMA. And when I actually bought, what was it? I believe it was the 27th. Yeah, I bought aggressively right here early and basically bought at the high of the day and then almost got stopped out. So not my best entry. I broke my one rule of not buying right at the open. It's one of my rules that I have. And I'll be honest with you guys, I was coming off an overnight shift. I was not in the greatest mindset and just acted emotionally, but whatever. I didn't get stopped out because my low over here was going to be the stop. I gave myself a small position so I could account for maybe that fluctuation. So I did never get stopped out. It then rebounded, looked like it was trying to get higher, paused on Friday. But overall, honestly, like right at these high levels, this is something I like. Anywhere in here, I just feel like you have a very, very clear defined stop of really the low of 820. So accounting for that risk, I'm completely comfortably being this range because I know where my risk is. And I feel like because of this just big overall pattern, this pullback, this name in and of itself, fundamentals, this could just go on an absolute complete tear. So yeah, that's how I am trying to get in on this one because it might not give another chance. Let's see. We'll jump over to X Hood. So it was one of my babies for this year, right? This thing went on a great run. I was lucky enough to catch the majority of this run. I got stopped out. We closed over here below the 21-day EMA and just been kind of keeping an eye on it. We pulled back into the 50, which is just kind of normal action now, considering how big of a run this went. And this is just one that it's been a leader. I'm keeping an eye on it, but not that I'm looking to enter this one anytime soon. I think this might be, given how long this has run up and kind of rolling over, I want to see this just kind of digest this gain, maybe give you a more traditional kind of base pattern before I jump in. But this stock in and of itself is a name that I'm 100% watching because it's been a leader. SoFi. All right, extended, right? It's definitely extended. It's off these moving averages. If you're in it, great. It's respecting that 21 very, very well. It has not closed below that 21 EMA, so you could easily use that just to ride this trend. But in terms of entering right now, just not my thing. I mean, I'm not even going to say it. Just to me, it's above all these moving averages. It's kind of trending up. It hasn't really truly digested these gains. Just not where I'm going to want to enter. Liz, you got Neo. Let's jump that. Oops, if I could type. There we go. Where am I? Oh, I'm drawing on the chart. My bad, guys. Jeez, late night. All right, Neo. All right, weekly. All right, so this one's starting to turn around from what was a big overall decline. Not super crazy about some of the earnings. The sales are in. The big thing here that the institutional sponsorship, the funds are kind of done jumping out of this. The ROE is pretty bad. So from a fundamental perspective, this is just not my trade. You do have earnings coming up tomorrow before market open. So if you're in this, that should obviously have a plan for that. Make sure hopefully you have a cushion to handle that. And then we'll jump over on the daily. Yeah, I mean, overall downtrend, it's kind of tried to rally back. It's tightened up. It's pulled back. It's still pretty far off those moving averages. It's showing some relative strength as of late. But, yeah, this is just not my – I don't really try to do this when we got this much overhead resistance. Also, small cap name. This could be very, very volatile. So just not my kind of stock. And you got earnings coming around. So just keep that in consideration from my perspective. What else do we got? We got CCJ. It's a stock that I own. This, given this little double bottom pattern. Looked like it was breaking out. I kind of got in around here. It was trading really tight around these moving averages and popped right here. I think that was my entry day. We kind of bounced off those moving averages. And looked like we were breaking out over on Thursday. Really looked like we were breaking out Friday, and then reversed. High volume, which I did not like, but overall keeping an eye on this, which maybe can re-break out of that double bottom pattern. Auto stocks generally have low profit margins. Good point to add. Good point to add. Yeah, that's one of the smaller reasons why I'm not interested in that stock. But yes, good point to add. At Folio. Oops, if I could type. So this, given like a really good VCP pattern, I do have a position in this. We had this big correction, came back up, corrected a little smaller, came back up, had a little bit more of a V correction, and then now I drew this line right over here. We kind of broke out on what was Thursday with some good volume. Friday had some kind of tight action. So this is definitely actionable. I think if you're somebody who Minervini style trading likes that VCP type pattern, this could be a stock to entertain. Earnings, all that stuff looks great. This was a big winner in the past. Doesn't mean they'll always return as big winners. Very often they don't, but this is just really setting up, I think, nice with that big kind of long-term VCP pattern. So I do have a position in this, but wanted to kind of highlight that. All right. My exit was your entry. What stock was that, Liz? All right. Nothing else on X unless somebody else has some other charts you guys want to throw in on here. And I think I got everybody on YouTube with what you guys were looking for. So Tesla, we'll bring that one up too, actually. I forgot I had that kind of on the list to bring up. Oh, CCJ. Oh, we'll see who's right. All right, so Tesla, the big talk, I think everybody, this is all over X. Everybody's talking about this, right? We've had this big correction and just the volume. Like if you pull this, like look at that average volume. It just continually, excuse me, trending lower, 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 lower. So the volume is really tightening up on this. The price action's really been tightening up. The moving averages are really tightening up. The volume on the downside lowered as we kind of had this little peak here. So this is a name that looks like it's just coiling up to kind of just go on a tear. Definitely keeping an eye on this one. I don't have a position right now. There's, I think, a couple different ways people could play entering this. Liz, perma bear on Tesla. Is that a personal thing that you have against Elon, or is it just hate for Tesla, or what makes you a perma bear? Let everybody know. But yeah, I think this is one of those names where, again, when you can kind of set some tight risk, you see this thing coiling up, you see volume really, 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 really tightening up. It might be priming itself for that kind of coiled reaction where you can take off from here. So I personally have not entered on this, but this is just a name that I'm watching, and I just figured I'd highlight because a lot of people have talked about just how we're seeing that volume tighten up, the price action tighten up, and things just getting tighter and tighter and tighter as time goes on. All right. Other than that, let's, if nobody's got anything else, all of the above, meme stock, bad funds. Yeah, that is definitely one true thing. The fundamentals of the stock have never been good. But at the same time, fundamentals of this have never been, let's go to the weekly. Fundamentals have never been good yet. This has made some people a lot of money. 2020 in particular made people a lot of money. So even through here, some of these uptrends made people a lot of money. So people are making a lot of money shorting it on the way down. Yeah, this has made people a lot of money in both directions for sure. All right, cool. Let's finish this off. So, look, final thoughts. Again, we're in an uptrend. Ride the trend. The trend is your friend. Whatever market adage you want to use. I don't see if we're below, I don't see that we're above the 10, the 21, the 50, the 200. Everything's trending up. That I should be out of this market. Until we break down, until we create a lower low, I am just continuing to ride that trend. And like I said, a lot of these stocks, there's a lot of names setting up. And if I find stocks to buy and the market's in this position, I am not going to just be afraid to put some risk into the market. But again, the big thing, and we had talked about this in Discord channel. For anybody who's in here, I know Chad's in here from Discord. You have to be disciplined in your trading, and you can't try to predict. You have to manage risk, and you have to keep doing the work. But you have to, at any time, this goes for any time in the market, be comfortable with where your stops are. If the market was to completely turn over and just crash out of nowhere, and all your stops got hit, you have to be comfortable with where the risk is that you have in the market. You have to also understand that the market, if you're going to try to make money in it, you have to have some sort of risk out there. You have to pay to play. There has to be something that you're risking if you want to make money. So keep that in mind, but definitely be disciplined in your risk. Don't be overexposed in markets that you shouldn't be. So right now, like I said, I'm slightly on margin in one account. I'm pretty much fully invested in another account. I have my tights stops on all those areas. I have calculated exactly what my drawdown to my equity would be if everything does get hit. And I'm completely comfortable with that, especially given that if this market does rip higher, I'm in a position with these stocks that I think they're going to make some pretty decent moves if they behave as they should. So do that for yourself. Do the work, prepare, make sure you're ready for tomorrow and the rest of the week. And you should be doing that every single week. And that's kind of the last little things that I wanted to add. Appreciate everybody in both chats. I know some of you guys realize I'm reading off of YouTube, reading off of X. So I appreciate everybody in kind of both areas. Thank you for joining. Thank you for making this kind of what it is and making it a little more interactive. And other than that, if you don't know, we got the YouTube channel up there. If you're on YouTube, obviously you know that. But if you're on X, these get saved and put up on YouTube for viewing. You can even check out some of the old ones if you wanted to look and see what I was talking about weeks ago. For you guys on YouTube, there's my X account. If you don't know about that, post on there. For everybody, we have the Discord channel. Over 1,000 people in Discord right now. CANSLIM, Minervini, swing traders, just a lot of growth stock trend following traders. Really, really great people helping each other out. So huge shout out to everybody from there. And if you're looking to join on YouTube, it's in the link in the description. On X, I don't have a link up there anymore, but just shoot me a message and I'll share a link for you guys so you can check it out. Other than that, email if you want to reach out to me that way, feel free. That's all I got for this week. Hope everybody enjoyed their long weekend. Prepare yourselves, get ready for the next week, and hopefully let's all make some money. Stay disciplined.